Right then, hello guys, long time no see, I am aware. The game room is kind of stalled a little bit. There should be some progress soon though, so hopefully stay tuned for that. Because when that room's finished, I'm going to be making a lot more videos, I imagine. So, this is a response to Paul Bradley's 10 random gaming questions. Let's get cracking with knacking. First one, Sega or Nintendo? Now of course, brand loyalty is a slightly ridiculous concept to an evolved human being, but as a child, I think lots of us felt this type of thing, and I was certainly a Sega fanboy back in the day. Loved the Mega Drive. I got it a year before it was launched here on import, obviously. Loved having the extra 16-bit power, you know, whilst most of my friends were still playing Atari 2600s and Master Systems. That was cool. It was also cool to get a lot of arcade games. A lot of my favourite arcade games came out on the Mega Drive. Because that's how I basically first got into video games when I was really young, is going to the arcades on the seaside in Redcar with my grandparents. My granny, who used to help me to cajole Grandad into taking us to the arcade, because she quite liked the gamblers, the fruit machines. So we conspired between ourselves to get Grandad to take us, and so it's quite funny that my oldest relatives were kind of responsible for one of my more modern hobbies. But yeah, a lot of the arcade games came out on the Mega Drive. That was really cool. Loved the games, loved the system. Always was a little bit jealous of some of my friends that had SNESes though. But what's funny about that is that at no point during my kind of childhood or adolescence did it ever occur to me to actually go and get a Super Nintendo, even though I quite often was jealous of what, you know, was on that system. You know, your Sim City, Super Mario World, Pilot Wings, Super Mario Kart, of course, a lot of the RPGs. Just, well, we all know the drill. A lot of awesome games on that system that weren't on Mega Drive, but it never occurred to me to actually get one. And I could have afforded one. I always had paper rounds and worked in pubs, restaurants, chip shops, that kind of thing when I was young. So I could have done it, but I just never did. So I guess there was a kind of brand loyalty there in terms of Sega. Although saying that, I did have a Game Boy. Of course, Nintendo always dominated the handheld market, and I've always had Nintendo handhelds. Game Boy, then GBA, DS, 3DS will be my next one, no doubt. So yeah, then as time went on, I didn't have a Saturn back in the day when they were out. I've got one now. That generation I had an N64 and a PS1. And so yeah, it was N64 then. So the Sega loyalty kind of waned there a little bit. Then back on the Dreamcast, amazing system, obviously, for the amount of time that it was out. It's crazy the amount of awesome games it's got, the amount of awesome exclusives that it's got. Really gutted that that one bombed. After that, yeah, I did have a Wii at launch for a short period of time. Got rid of that fairly quickly to get 360, although I do want to get a Wii back again now that it's quite easy to pick up things on the cheap. But so, you know, I love them both equally in the long run. You can't pick between them two in the long run. They're completely equal in my mind in terms of the amount of fun that I've had with the games from these two companies. So yeah, as a kid growing up, Sega. You know, later on, obviously in life, Nintendo was stronger, but they're dead level for me overall. So a bit of a cop out answer, but there you go. Horror games, lights on or off? Definitely off. They have got to be off. It's got to be off. It just feels wrong playing a horror game with the lights on. You need the lights off. What more can you say about that? Sony or Microsoft? I mean, you know, like I said, as an adult, the thought of some kind of brand loyalty is faintly ridiculous. You can obviously have positive experiences with the products provided by a certain company and therefore feel an affinity towards what they have provided for you in terms of that enjoyment, but having a loyalty to a company is a bit silly because, you know, they then rely on that loyalty. They get arrogant and they make decisions that basically fuck you in the arse because they assume that you're going to buy it and lap it up no matter what they do, which is what happened with the Xbox One, obviously, with all the DRM stuff they had to backtrack on, all the rest of it, the obligatory Connect and all the rest of it. And Sony were almost about to make some of the same mistakes too, but they kind of obviously were a little bit more switched on. But both companies, I think, got a little bit complacent, got a little bit relying on consumer loyalty. And I don't think we should have that. I think we should always be just look for the best products. It doesn't matter who's making them. We all know that. What am I ranting about that for? Sony and Microsoft. Well, I've had more fun with Microsoft. I've owned, I had an Xbox was my console of choice in that generation. 360 was my console of choice in the 7th generation. I'm not interested in either for the 8th generation as of yet. But yeah, so it has been Microsoft. That's where I've been doing most of my gaming. But of course, you can't discount the awesomeness of some of the stuff that's been on Sony. But you know, they're not games companies. They're technology companies that have gone into the gaming industry because they saw that it was so lucrative. And I think we have seen certain things, certain negative trends that have been instigated and supported and exacerbated by Sony and Microsoft. And I think that comes down to the fact they are not dedicated games companies. That's not their modus operandi, especially Microsoft with the, you know, the branding of the Xbox One as this entertainment hub center thing that just does a lot of shit that nobody cares about. And yeah, so I don't know. I wouldn't lose sleep if both of them left the video game industry entirely. I would not care at all. Hopefully that might even leave the gap open for a dedicated games company to come back in and have some another Sega Nintendo type situation where you've got two companies that who need to make the best gaming experiences to survive because that is their only concern. And I think that was a lot healthier situation for the gaming industry. Obviously, we've seen a lot of advancements and a lot of cool stuff, a lot of fun things in the last few generations. I'm not discounting any of that, but I'm not saying I think it probably could have been better had we had two game companies that were just specifically geared towards that industry. But who knows? That's all speculation. Yeah, they're both awesome. They have both provided awesome experiences, shall we say, on each of those platforms. But again, mainly just hardware manufacturers, not really game developers, producers, not really developers. Some of the things that they've tried to do in terms of taking over development houses have failed spectacularly. What the fuck happened to Rare? Microsoft really fucked them up, so that's a shame, and that kind of thing. So anyway, lots of things can be said about that, but I won't go any further. Right. Sports games in your collections. Yes, I do have sports games in my collection. Love boxing games. They're fun. I find that the fighting in boxing games is a little bit more intuitive on one with a good control system, of course, because you've got the different heights and the left and right punch at different heights, the blocking, the weaving, the moving. It seems more tactical to me than a game like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, where you have to have these button combinations to do moves and ever increasing complexity of special moves. I just can't be asked to learn the moves. So I like boxing games. Bit simpler, bit more intuitive. Soccer games. Soccer. Football. Pro Evo, which I'm loving. Have been playing FIFA for the last couple of years. Back onto Pro Evo. I think that's now the best of the two. Although I haven't played 14. I think I'm still playing 13. I haven't played the new ones. 14. Newish. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, football. I like football games. I've said this before quite recently, I think, as well, actually. But I just think, I feel soccer games, you have a feeling of kind of creative flair about them. Because it's all about movement and angles and shapes, and it's very creative, I think, in the way that you play those games. Very open, of course, and lots of variety. The emergent gameplay that you get, it's creative is the best word I can use to describe those games, and that's why I like them. So boxing and football. And those are the only sports games that I really play. I used to play NBA Jam back in the day, but no more. Gaming food. Anything that's close enough to grab and put in my face is gaming food. Gaming drink, same again. Whatever's going. Tea, beer, who knows, whatever. Multiplayer or single player. The only multiplayer games that I have liked are football, Pro Evo and FIFA, and Halo Online, Halo 4 that I'm playing at the minute. Those are the only games that I really play multiplayer. So mainly I go for the single player campaigns. I like to get lost in a single player campaign, that kind of thing. Yeah. DLC, yes or no? Well, there's a time and a place. Mainly no. I mean, I have bought some DLC for Rock Band, for example. Now there's a game where DLC is completely legitimate, because they've just released thousands of different tracks that you can play on Rock Band. And I'm glad that they did, but they should be a lot cheaper than they are. And I've given this example a while back. If you haven't heard, I'll just repeat it. I bought 2 albums of Green Day tracks to play on Rock Band. Now these 2 albums of just of tracks just to play on Rock Band cost more than the actual CDs would if I bought the albums in the shop. That is mental. When you buy these downloads to play on Rock Band, you can't also rip the track to play in your CD systems or whatever to add to your music collection. They're just for that game. And again, once the servers go down some point in the future, you might not even be able to use them. So, but I'm a bit unclear as to how those things work. So it's different for every game. I don't know. But anyway, getting back to the point. They were quite expensive. I got them because I was feeling a bit flush that month, and I really like Green Day, and I really wanted some new tracks to play on Rock Band. But I begrudge paying it. Obviously I did, so I can't really complain about it. But the point being, if Rock Band tracks were cheaper, I would have bought a hell of a lot more. And I think probably this true across the board. So I think DLC needs to be cheaper. You don't own this thing. You can't sell it on when you finish with it. It's at the mercy of the reliability of the console and the servers in the future. You might not be able to use it. They need to be priced accordingly. Now, in terms of full game DLC, I understand why those are full price, and I think they should be closer to full price, because if they were drastically undercutting shops, then you've got a problem in terms of affecting the business of the industry out there selling games in shops. All the livelihoods attached to those stores would be in jeopardy if full games were ridiculously cheaper and on the consoles, and everyone was, they were undercutting the shops a ridiculous amount. So I understand why those games are the price they are to get the full games. But when you're talking about add-ons that legitimately can't really be sold in shops, I think that's a different question. And like I said, there's a time and a place for DLC, and I have bought some, but on the whole, I think a lot of the time it seems like a bit of a rip-off. But that's just me. I mean, I don't know. So they're just overpriced. Like a new map pack on Halo. I would like to get the new maps, but I'm just not going to pay that amount for it. Maybe I'm tight. But I'm just not going to pay for it, right? Gaming Room 101. Right. Now, this is a good one. I don't know. I guess... I don't know. Gaming Room 101. See, I didn't think about these questions beforehand. I'm sure there's some glaring examples that I could pick out of games from the gaming industry that needs to go in Room 101. If you don't know what that means, it means banished from all existence, basically. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'd like to think of something really good for that answer, but I can't really. I guess. All right. Let's. Okay. Whoever was in charge of the decision to rush the Virtual Boy. That guy. Whoever it was at Nintendo, who decided to rush out the Virtual Boy when it wasn't ready, and then discontinue it 9 months later. Those people. Gaming Room 101, because the Virtual Boy had potential, and if they'd just worked on it a little bit longer and waited a little bit for the price of coloured LEDs to come down, you would have had a full colour 3D console. And if they just worked on it a bit harder, been a bit more patient, and developed it a bit longer, that system could have been pretty impressive. I've got a Virtual Boy, and I do enjoy some of the games on it, but it's unavoidable. You have to admit that it is a missed opportunity, that it is a failure, that whilst the red and black graphics give it a kind of iconic feel, a unique feel. If you understand that it wasn't long after that the price of coloured LEDs of the type that would switch fast enough to generate the picture that was needed, the price of those came down fairly soon after it was released. So if they'd just waited a little bit longer, a bit more research, a bit more development, perhaps that could have been a full colour 3D console back in the 90s, and so that would have been pretty impressive. And but Nintendo, they always experiment, and that's brilliant. And just the fact that they tried something like that, I think is awesome. It's a shame that it was rushed in the way that it was. Other stuff that goes in game that should go in Gaming Room 101. Skylanders. Skylanders. I've never seen such a massive waste of plastic in all my life. Now, of course, it's easy for me to say that now because I'm no longer buying toys as I was as a child. All the Lego bricks that I had, all the He-Man figures that I had, all the whatever Transformers and all the rest of it, all the useless bits of plastic junk. When you're a bit older, you just look at something like Skylanders and you think, I wonder what the mountain of all the Skylanders figures in the world looks like. I wonder how big that is. I wonder how much plastic, how much natural resources go in to the mountain of Skylander figures and now Disney Infinity figures. And I think, oh God. I mean, come on, people. We need to be slowing down on the use of resources on this planet. I think we're all aware of this. Where we're going to make the first cuts probably should be entertainment. And this is why I would like to be able to support DLC. I would love to be able to support a completely digital video game future. I would love to be able to do that from an ecological point of view. Because, you know, the amount of discs, cases, manuals, all that stuff, if all of that could just be not be used anymore, and instead you had digital content, that'd be quite good for the environment, potentially. But then again, you'd also lose a lot of jobs in the distribution and manufacture of all those products. So it's a catch-22. Listen, we're on a downward spiral to oblivion. I hope you know this. Yeah. This species is not going to a pretty place. The answers are not easy. But we should at least ask the questions. How do we temper our rampant rape of this biosphere? I don't know. Deep, man. Yeah. Gaming Room 101. Fuck knows. I don't know. I wouldn't put much in there because you learn from your mistakes. So if we didn't have the shite, how would we know not to do it again? Is that a good cop-out answer? Right, take that one. Right, last one. Shout out a channel you're enjoying right now. Well, this is a channel that I've literally just started watching. And this guy got a shout out from someone, I think Steve Benway, I'm not sure who shouted this guy out, but Vinny Corleone 62 is a channel I've just started watching. Really interesting guy. He does long conversational videos. It's my favourite style of video, and really interesting, really good talker, really open and honest and insightful. And like I said, I've only just found the channel, but I definitely recommend it. So go and have a look at Vinny Corleone 62 if you haven't already. And that's it, Mr. Paul Bradley, if that is your real name. I'll see you guys in next vid.